Hi guys, thank you for joining me today. Today we are looking at the concept of truth and how it plays a role in our success. So the concept of truth, let's look at it. The word truth, what does it literally mean and how does this play a role in our success? In order to make this very easy for us to grasp, the word truth can be divided into two basic factors. We have what I call foundational truths, or you can call it fundamental truths, and we also have what we call relative truths. Relative truths. So, foundational truth and relative truth. How does these two factors determine if a person will be successful or not? When we look at the social space has become one of the major factors. Social media has become one of the major factors in which knowledge is passed in this present century. When people go to YouTube, they get to learn things. When they go to social media, when they go to Instagram, they learn something. Facebook, they learn something. Somebody is always preaching, somebody is always talking, somebody is always giving some sort of tips. Right, it has served as a major archive where knowledge is found, and anywhere knowledge is found, truth is definitely found. So what does the word truth literally mean? Truth just means a body of knowledge, a body of knowledge that is passed to that is passed across across channels. So it's a body of knowledge that is passed across channel. A good example is when somebody says 2 plus 2 equals to 4. That is a truth. It's like a body of knowledge. It informs many other things. If you ask mathematics students to do Pythagorean theorem, this still plays a role in it. Any other mathematical activities that we get involved with day after day or in probably exams or whatever, it still plays a role in it. So truth is a body of knowledge that can be passed through different channels, or that can be passed through different channels. So how does this word truth play a role in our success? Let me give you a practical example. Let's assume that you listen to a podcast and somebody says that you need to work as early work out 5 a.m. daily, that if you do not do that, you're lazy. That's idea there, that narration there is a kind of truth because it's a body of knowledge, right? But this body of knowledge, in as much as it is true to the person who gave it or who said it or who wrote it, whatever it is not true to everyone. To make it easy for you to understand, I mentioned that there are foundational truths and there are relative truths. Foundational truth literally means something that is universally true. Universally true. For example, 2 plus 2 equals to 4. It is universally true. H2O means water. It is universally true. Nobody is going to come and say it is not true. But when we say God is real, to some it is universally true, which is the fundamental truth. To some other, it is a relative truth. So relative truth literally means truth that is context specific. Truth that is context specific, while foundational truth is the truth that is universally accepted. So foundational, again, to reiterate, foundational truth is truth that is universally accepted, while relative truth is a truth that is context specific. Now let's return back to our example. Someone says that you need to exercise every morning by 5 a.m. That word is a relative truth because it is context specific. It is for some set of people, it is for the person that wrote it out. But in every relative truth, you can always extract a foundational truth. And the foundational truth here is that exercise. You need to exercise, right? Because it helps to improve your body. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say that in the social media space where a lot of knowledge is passed, there needs to be a filter system that tells you the difference between a foundational truth and a relative truth. Because if you don't do it that way, you are going to run into losses. Another example is I was watching a video from a US business owner who says that everybody should buy a business. Probably in the US, that is predictable. But here in Nigeria, if you come here to say that you want to buy a small business, probably a laundromat, if there is, or you want to buy a small kiosk, it doesn't really work. But the point the person is trying to say, the foundational truth of that narration is that you should start a business. So it's very important for us to understand that there are foundational truths and there are relative truths. So let's look at a few examples that I believe will play a role in helping you understand what I'm trying to say literally. So let's look at it. For example, somebody says that, let's look at example number one. From the top of my head, a good example, number one, let's assume that somebody says you need to work 15 hours in a day, or take no weekends. No weekends. Yeah, is a body of knowledge. This is a kind of truth. But now the question is, 15 hours, does it apply to everyone? Does it really apply to everyone? That is the question you want to ask. So for me, whenever it comes to taking a body of knowledge online, the first thing you want to know is that, okay, what is the foundational truth of what this person is saying? The foundational truth of this is that you need to work hard, or you need to work hard, or you need to work more than anybody else. That is what this place is trying to say, because literally nobody is trying to work for 15 hours. I'm talking about just on a literal ground. Not that people are not doing, definitely people are doing it, and people are even doing more. Right? There are times people have to work around the clock. So I'm not saying, but the point I'm trying to say is that we have to extract what the foundational truth is here. What is the foundational truth here? You need to work hard. You need to work hard more than anybody else. That is the foundational truth, and this is what you can apply to your life. Somebody that says this 15 hours example, let's assume that somebody gives you this 15 hours. There are many contexts that can make this right for them. Number one, let's say they eat good food. Eat good food, because if you don't eat well, you are going to suffer for doing this, right? Let's assume that the person explores sleeping properly. Let's assume that you that decides to take up this advice, you spend most of your time on social media scrolling when you should be sleeping. This advice will harm you. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. The point I'm trying to make is that in every advice, you need to draft out the foundational points there. Then you now ask yourself that, how can I apply this to myself? Let's look at another example. What example do I have from the top of my head? Example number two. Someone says to you that you should quit your job, should quit your job and be an entrepreneur, that you will make more wealth. This is the body of knowledge, right? But this is context specific. Somebody who is going to quit their job will probably have some things that is set aside in place to ensure that this doesn't become a repercussion. The point of this entire conversation is that every body of knowledge, every truth that you find out there has a consequence. So it is important for you to filter it into foundational truth and the relative truth. Foundational truth meaning that what is the universal message that this person is trying to pass, and how does it apply to me? So somebody says that everybody needs to japa, that Nigeria is not good. True, but this is context specific. It needs to apply to you. So what you should focus on are the foundational and fundamental truths. Work hard. Work hard. Foundational truths. You need to sleep well. Foundational truth. Imagine somebody telling you you need to have 8 hours sleep. This is context specific, right? Because at some point in your life, if you're having 8 hours sleep, probably with the routine that you're doing, it might affect you, and you might not be able to get the result that you're trying to achieve. But there is a possible way you can have 6 hours sleep, maximize it well, and it still look as though you had a 8 hours sleep. So the foundational truth there is for you to sleep accurately or sleep well. Another example is marry well. Hey, I remember this one. Somebody can say use a joint account for married people. This is context specific again. The foundational truth here is that you and your spouse need to be financially aligned. So joint account works for some people, joint account doesn't work for some people, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that every truth that you find outside is context specific. It is context specific. You need to be able to draft out the foundational truth there and apply it to yourself. Let's bring it into the religious settings. For people that are Pentecostal in nature, somebody can say you should pray 8 hours. That if you have not prayed that 8 hours, it doesn't really make sense. Now, this is context specific. But the foundational truth here is that you must pray, and you must pray fervently. That is what you should hold on to. And you now ask yourself question, how can I apply this foundational truth to my life? That is how you attain success. Because if you follow every truth that is out there that is context specific, you are going to lose. Somebody said, gave an example someday. He said that he took a risk and took all the money in his account and took that money and sold it into the church. That is context specific. If you pick up that knowledge and apply it to your life, you are going to have some certain level of disappointment, right? So it is context specific. The question in that conversation is that what is the foundational truth of what that guy did? That guy had a revelation. So the question is, how can I find my own revelation? That is the foundational truth. Foundational truth is what helps people attain success, not relative truth. Relative truth should be people's, how do I put it? Relative truth should be people's example to educate people. It should not be a standard. Relative truth should not be a standard. It should be examples to motivate, to explain, and to show people pathways. It should not be a standard. What should be a standard is the foundational truth, but then people would not hear. That is why the social media has a lot of people putting out content. It is left to you to be able to draft out foundational truth from it and apply it to your life. I will reiterate for the last time so as to help you understand all that I said. I mentioned we are rounding up right now. I will try to like reiterate again so that you understand all the that I said. I said there is truth, and truth is like a body of knowledge, but the truth always come from a major source, which is social media in this time and age, right? But truth can be divided into two, which is foundational or fundamental truths, and then we have relative truths. Foundational truths are universally accepted truth, like 2 plus 2, everybody knows is 4. H2O, everybody knows that it means water. Relative truths are context specific. That means it aligns to people's experience and culture. For example, somebody can say that using chopstick is the best way of eating, but that is not true to all people. This is context specific, because probably if you're an Asian country, maybe that is true, but if you are somewhere in Nigeria, in Africa, that is not true. The point that message is trying to pass is that you need to eat with what is comfortable for you and it is acceptable. Foundational truth. So there is truth, there is foundational truth, there is relative truth. And your duty as a person that wants to achieve success is that whenever you're taking an advice, the question you ask yourself is that, how does this apply to me? If you don't ask this question, you are just going to be moving zigzag. Somebody will say this today, you go like this. Somebody says like, you go like this, you go like this, you go like this, you go like this, until you have spent decades without really achieving anything. So filter every truth by using this system. Understand that there is foundational truth and there is relative truth. What you need to excel is foundational truth. This one is just for you to have examples and to show you pathways, but you need to extract knowledge from here to apply to your life. I believe this has been helpful. If you have any question, do well to drop it in the comment section. Share this with a friend as well. See you in the next video. Peace out.